All right. There we go. The next thing you want to do is put in 1 teaspoon of red pepper flakes. Okay. If you want it spicier, I do have some from Calabria, some peppers, which are really cool. So here's just something if you want to go, yeah, see the label, how it's all tarnished. It's been used a few times. But yeah, these are really nice peppers if you want a little bit something extra. But for the time being, we're going to put in the red pepper flakes. Just 1 teaspoon. All right. All right, so we're going to bring the camera around here for a second so you can see what's going on. You're going to smell oil. It's okay. Take a look, though, at what's going on. So the goal is we want to stir constantly until the garlic softens and turns brown. In the meantime, the pasta is cooking over here. Real simple. I'm just going to give that a stir. If it starts making that frying noise, you can just turn down the heat a little bit. No big deal. We're still in the zone. You can take the pan off. I'll tell you, my place smells amazing. It smells like garlic and coffee right now. I'm telling you, it's so interesting. But I love this garlic smell. It kind of permeates. If you don't like garlic, this isn't going to work for you. But there's somebody out there in your family, friends, that'll love it. So there you go. That's cooking right now. Checking on the pasta. Okay, so we have the lemon over here. I have a little citrus squeezer. This just helps keep the seeds out. You can squeeze it by hand if you want, no big deal. For the parsley, what we're looking for flat leaf parsley like this. And what we're going to do is we're going to take this knife. So this is a chef knife right here. Put your fingers on either side to get more control. And you want to bunch up the parsley. Kind of bunch it up, rolled up, and then you just want to start chopping it. It's okay if there's stems in there. Stems are fine. But you just want to start chopping it. Now, when I'm chopping, my fingers are flat. It's so much better just to cut a little flap of skin off than your whole finger. I've seen that happen. So you want to just get that down there, and you want to use those fingers to guide through the parsley. Real simple. It's going to add a real fresh accent to your dish. So that's ready to go. And then I love these little like guacamole bowls once you're done. But if you want to go further, if you're like, ooh, it's too much, I want to really mince it up. You can put your 2 fingers on the end here, and you can guide this in a fanning motion like this. And you can go a little bit faster. And each time you go through, you can brush down on your knife just to get it off of there and add it back in the pile. So the goal is we want it to look uniform and consistent. You may be wondering, hey, can I use dry parsley? You could, but for this dish, you really want that freshness to it. So I would recommend getting this at the grocery store near you. Okay, so once that's ready, we're just going to get that in our cup here. We're going to start checking on our pasta. So you may be wondering, like, what's the sauce to this? Well, it's going to be the olive oil, and then we're going to add a little bit of pasta water. The starch from the pasta actually changes the water into a thickening agent. So that's going to help solidify our sauce. So that's what we're going to do here in just a second. So again, with your prep, you have all the tools laid out and everything. So we'll check this out, see how our pasta's doing. Now, if you're wondering, hey, the pasta's done, what do I do? Do I have to empty out the water? No, I mean, if you have some tongs, you can just transfer this directly into your pan. At this point, though, we're going to come back around and look at this pan right here. And I've turned down the heat. You can start to see that the pasta is browning. It's softening up. I don't want to overcook it. We're taking our time, but we're getting pretty close to where we want to be. And then with our pasta, we're going to go al dente. So al dente just means tooth-like. So we want it to be pliable. We don't want it to be mushy, but we want it to have that, consistency. So I'm just doing that right now. Okay, and then, yeah, we're about 3 minutes out on that. Is there any questions so far for anybody out there? Is anybody cooking today, or at least having a glass of wine? If you're not, it's okay. I'll lead the charge. So after we get this pasta dish done, we're gonna jump into tiramisu. So our goal is to get this all done within 40 minutes, 20 minutes each. Just a disclaimer though on tiramisu, it actually takes about 6 hours for the cake to firm up in your fridge, but I already have one that's done. So I'll show you what's up with that. All right, so we're looking at the pasta now, not done. So we'll get to that. If you have any questions, please chime in. It's really important for this dish not to rush or bring out the pasta too soon. You kind of have that like delicate balance where you want to just bring it out just right at the nick of time and then add it into your garlic. So at this point, because the pasta is still taking a few minutes, I've reduced my heat. We're at a nice brown. The red pepper flakes are in there that has a little bit of heat. Now, if you're not somebody that likes spicy, don't put the red pepper flakes in. Pretty simple. Okay, we're almost there. At this point, if you're using a protein, I would introduce it to the oil. So shrimp is probably my first preference. You could use chicken. I've seen ground pork. But I think what's kind of cool about this is it doesn't have a protein. So, you're meeting more people now that are vegan and vegetarian. And so if that's just not your walk of life, it's okay. You can definitely relate to them with this dish. So it's kind of, it's kind of something I used to make it at like midnight after I get off of work and had a few beers. So it's kind of an all occasion type thing. You can also introduce this recipe if you have a kid in college right now that's looking for something to do, something to cook with their friends. So it's pretty adaptable. Okay, we're almost there. All right, at this point, I'm going to take my garlic off the stove because the garlic's good to go. I'm going to drop in this linguine here. Bear with me 1 second. I just want to see how it is. Not recommended to grab it with your hands, but all right, we're almost there. So what we're going to do while we have just a minute is I'm going to take you over to the tiramisu. Now, what we have over here are lady fingers. So lady fingers, or Savardi, I probably butchered that pronunciation, is it's a batter that they'll put into a finger-like shape and they'll bake it off. So it's actually like a sponge cake that's been baked. So what we're going to do is we're going to add in this espresso. So what's the deal with espresso? I brewed it this morning. I have a mocha pot. So I have one of these, but like I always imagine someone like my mom buying this. She wouldn't buy this. So if you can't make your own espresso, you could pick up a cold brew in the grocery store and you're good to go. So I'm going to dump a little bit of this in here. And so the recipe calls for about 1.5 cups of espresso. And that's espresso with an S. Fancy people don't like it said with an X, just so you know. And then I'm going to add some Bacardi. Or I have a light Bacardi, but the amber Bacardi works good too. And then I'm just going to go get a fork just to kind of mix that together. No big deal. So I'm going to mix that together. And what we're going to do is, in just a moment, is we're going to dip these lady fingers into the espresso real fast and layer those in our dish. Now, this is kind of an optics thing. The recipe I have calls for this. This is like a 9 by 13. Looks pretty familiar. Well, this is actually the same. This is actually the same size portion. The only difference with this versus this is you're going to get 2 layers out of this. You're going to get 3 layers with this. So, you have some flexibility. But before we start, I'm going to get out my pasta. So at this point, we're going to add in the pasta. I'm pulling it straight from the water. Okay. At this point, there should be no heat. You don't want the water to cause the oil to bubble up and get on you. That wouldn't be fun, right? Okay. So if you're not straining this pasta out, your fourth cup of water might actually just get on there while you're doing this. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to mix this together. Again, the pan isn't on the heat at all. Okay, so we're going to mix this together. At this point, we're going to introduce the lemon and the parsley. So here I got my citrus squeezer. All right, there we go. Half a lemon. All right, and then we're going to put on a half cup of parsley, like this. Okay. Check that out. All right, and then we're just going to give this a little mix. Okay. We want all the ingredients to be incorporated right there. All right. Okay, and at this point, get out your bowls, whatever you're using. We're going to put this onto a plate. So I actually love, there's little things that just make cooking fun. I love this carving fork, so I'm going to do that real quick. So I'm going to take this carving fork right here, and I'm just going to start twirling. Again, it's kind of like the presentation. I love how it looks. Okay, so I'm just going to twirl like that, and then I'm going to bring that over to the bowl right here. And you just kind of do a little rotation as you drop it down. Okay, so we're going to do that again. You might be like, oh my gosh, I don't know, it's hot oil. I totally get it. After you do this a few times, you'll be totally comfortable. See how it just picks right up? And then as it's going down, I'm just twirling it like that. Okay? You could definitely do Parmesan cheese. You could definitely take some of the garlic out of here and throw it on. No big deal. Okay? Somebody can put some garlic on. Okay? And then you can also put on some extra parsley. Okay? There you go. So that's aglio e olio right there. 6 ingredients. Shouldn't take more than 15 minutes. Can pretty much wow anybody in your audience. Okay? Please, chime in if you have any questions. This is a really cool dish, easy to make. If you have any concerns or if you have any specific questions about where I got my equipment or the ingredients, I mean, everyone knows where to get a lemon, but if if you have a pasta that you prefer or something else that you want to run by, I mean, no big deal. So that's it for that. And what we're going to do is I'm just going to move this pot off of here. Right. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to jump right into our tiramisu. So we're going to start off with, this is the espresso I use, by the way, in case you want to brew it. Okay, so we're going to start off with the lady fingers. So I got kind of everything over here ready to go. So again, we're going to go quick dip. What's going to happen is they may still feel like a cookie, but after they rest with the cream, they're going to get soft, and it's going to taste exactly what you've had at the restaurant. So you just dip them real quick. If you're like super precise, shouldn't be more than a couple of seconds. And then with this dish, I love about it is I can start doing my layers like this. Okay, so we're going to go pretty quick on this. If they're in longer for a few seconds, that's okay. You can just set it aside, start over. These lady fingers you can get on like Amazon.com. I got this at a local grocery store, believe it or not, for $2.99. Okay. As you go down, you just kind of want to give them a little push against the edge so they form a solid layer. Okay, so that's what I'm doing right now. Yeah, always make sure before you're cooking anything, your hands are washed, ready to go. All right, so I'm just arranging this, getting my little bridge together. All right, so we're good to go on that. Okay, so the next thing is the cream. So this is the point where if you have a hand mixer, get it out. If you have a KitchenAid, get it out. I'll take you through it, no big deal. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to pick up mascarpone cheese. What does that mean? Well, Mascarpone is kind of like the Italian version of cream cheese. You can find it in grocery stores. It's going to be twice the cost of Philadelphia, but you really need it in this dish. So I would say there really isn't any other way to go. So what we're going to do is we're going to start by combining our mascarpone. So this is kind of what you want to look for. You want to look for 8 ounces of mascarpone with 3 tablespoons of rum. If you don't drink, that's okay. You can omit the rum, but it's highly recommended. So we're going to start with that. This is our first of 3 bowls. So I'm just going to put this down here for the time being. The next thing you're going to do is whip up 6 egg yolks with 3/4 cups of sugar. Now, separating yolk from an from an egg white is kind of a fun process. You're supposed to, basically strike the eggshell right here and go in half. So I'm going to do that for you. But if you're not into this, another way that you could do it is this is an egg separator. So this actually rests on your bowl. Not obviously this bowl that I have here, but another bowl. And the egg white will submerge below it and it won't get incorporated into the recipe. So that's something used to right here. So just check that out. But I'm going to do this old school way. I'm going to crack this in half. I'm going to kind of reach in there. And what you do is you kind of do this teeter-totter thing. So as you do this with the yolk, the egg white will start falling off. So below me is my trash can. And what makes this, more efficient is having a cooled egg versus room temperature. If you have room temperature, your yolk could break and it can mix into your egg white. So it's just something to be aware of. So then you add it into there. And then the next thing we're going to do is just going to wash my hands. There are recipes out there for this that don't have eggs, and that's okay. You can try that. There's just a richness to this recipe when you make it with eggs. But obviously, for health reasons, we want to cook the eggs. So here, I'm just going to wipe off my hands, and we're going to take this over to some water that's been simmering. Okay. And we're going to add in our sugar, 3/4 cups. Okay. And at this point, we're going to basically take a whisk and go through here while it's on top of the steaming water. And that will cook the eggs, change this to a pale yellow. And then we're going to basically take this and add it back into our mascarpone. So I'm going to put this on here. At this point, let's take a look at this water just so you get an idea of what we're dealing with. So, yeah, take a look, check it out. You only want 1 inch of water, and again, the heat's on low. So we'll get this out of here. All right, so at this point, we're gonna put a little muscle into this. I have the egg yolks, I have the sugar. It's gonna start out grainy, but as the steamed water starts hitting this bowl, all the granular texture of the sugar will go away. It'll become more like a sauce. This is something you should keep an eye on because if the heat's too high, the eggs in here will start scrambling. So we're going to leave that there just for a second because I have a real low heat going on. While that's happening, you're like, well, you said there's going to be 3 bowls. All right, so stick with me. The third bowl is whipped cream. All right, let's talk about this. So this is just 2 cups of whipped cream. You could use Cool Whip, but I just don't think it's the same. So get out the hand mixer, the KitchenAid, and what you're looking for is medium peaks. What does that mean? So here we go. I'm going to show you medium peaks. So when you do this with like a fork, see how it kind of sticks up like that? That's medium peaks. What would be hard peaks? That'd be like a meringue. That'd be like your Cool Whip. So yeah, you want to get just like medium peaks. This is going to help create that cakey layer. I shouldn't say cakey layer. It's going to our actual like custard filling. There we go. So that's ready to go. If you do that yourself, you're looking at about 7 minutes, give or take, to get that done. We just have that done to save some time. But anyways, back to this, back to the custard. This is what you're going to do, whisk. So the way I always learned to do whisking, yeah, there's a method. This is why people go to chef school, to learn the why to everything. So when we used to mix, we would do this. We wouldn't like contour our wrist or anything. Just check that. you know, sometimes we would do a figure eight, you know, just things like that always save time. Make sure you get a consistent product. So what's the goal with this is we're going to basically do this over steam for 7 to 9 minutes. You just kind of got to eyeball it. As it goes on, your eggs are going to start getting more of a pale color. The consistency is going to get less granular because all the sugar is melting. Okay. This is definitely like your arm workout for the day. So just to recap, once this gets done, we're going to add this into our mascarpone cheese and rum. And we're going to whip that up with, again, you can use a hand mixer or a KitchenAid. All right, so while that, I'm going to let that rest for a second. I actually want to try this pasta. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm hungry like a lot of people are. I just dove right in. So for me, you know, this is kind of like where I check my seasoning. I'm going to put a little bit more salt and, forgive me, black pepper. Yeah. Okay, back to work. Oh, that was so good. So the egg yolks and sugar is actually a Sauvignon. I'm going to just turn up the heat a little bit. We're making a Sauvignon. So we're cooking yolks and sugar over steamed water. What you'll notice is the volume will actually increase too. So if you take a look here, see how it's starting to get more pale, it's starting to look a little bit more like Easter. I'm sorry, yellow just reminds me of Easter. So we're almost there. This is also how the eggs are going to be safe in the recipe. They're going to be cooked through. Okay, so I'm just going to leave that on there for a second. Okay. And actually, at this point, I'm going to get a rubber spatula. Check that out. All right, and then what I'm going to do is these little fine mesh strainers, I'd recommend them. This always keeps the little bits that haven't been cooked through from getting into your sauce, your recipe. So at this point, I'm actually going to move this through. See how it kind of props up there? I love that. And I'm going to send this through. And then right after I scrape this, I know I'm kind of blocking it right now, but after I scrape all this through and it sifts, I'm going to go right to a mixer because the mascarpone is cold. The eggs and the yolks are hot. Okay, so that's in there. And just see how it's straining. Again, there might be some bits of sugar that aren't, didn't get dissolved. Check that out. So, and then you can just use your rubber spatula to kind of help it through. Okay, we're good to go. So now we're going over to the mixer here. I have a KitchenAid, kind of cool. So I'm gonna just kind of secure this, get in the paddle attachment. All right, let's check this out. All right, that's coming out. Oh yeah, let's start on a low speed. We're trying to get this to blend up like cake batter. We want to have a nice smooth consistency. And what you can do is just make sure everything's properly mixed. Is you can stop your mixer and scrape down the sides of both, just to make sure everything gets mixed correctly. Okay. All right, we're back to this. While this is mixing, I'm gonna have a drink. So good. All right, now I'm gonna speed up the mixing here. Okay. At this point, you want to hold on to one of your rubber spatulas, and I'll tell you why in just a second. All right, so that's almost ready. Oh yeah, just take a look at this. Doesn't that just look sexy? Oh my gosh. All right, so you're like, what's next? What's the deal? All right, so what we're gonna do is first take your paddle attachment off. All right, so then just do that. Get the little bits in here off of the paddle. Okay, get rid of the paddle, throw in the sink. Okay, so what we're gonna do next is, clearly I'm making a mess, I love it. We're going to add in the whipped cream. But what's really important is you just want to do half of the whipped cream. So we're just going to put half in, okay? And we're going to do a little technique called folding, okay? It sounds fancier than it is, but folding basically means as you mix, you're going to turn this spatula like this. So once this is incorporated, okay, see I'm just folding like that, nothing crazy. I'm just kind of mixing it around. After you fold this, the rest of the whipped cream is going to go in. Okay. We're just looking for it to be proper, thoroughly mixed. So this is going to give it that smooth, silky batter. I love it. Okay. Scrape down the sides. Just make sure everything's getting incorporated. There you go. All right. So see how that's mixed right there? It's going to have a little yellow hue to it. That's cool. No problem there. Don't worry about it. You're still doing it. All right, so the rest of the whipped cream. Here we go. Rubber spatula, your best friend. Let's go in. All right. Okay, so that's in. All right. Again, we're gonna fold. So we're just kind of turning that paddle as we're stirring. That's basically it. People pay thousands of dollars to learn this. I'm not sure why. It's easy. You can do this at home.
Randy, I wanted to give you, we have about 4 minutes before we end our session.
Okay.
Everything looks so good. I wish we could smell and taste what you're fixing.
I wish you could too. And you called it just at the right time. So I just want to show this real quick. So we'll be quick. So you're going to take like a spoon and just give this some dollops right there. Okay, some dollops. And you can use an offset spatula or you can use a spoon, and you're basically just going to spread out this batter. You want an even layer. You really can't screw this up. And so you're just going to get that on there. And then my little trick is I kind of get this thing about here and I go like that. I just want to make sure that nice custard layer kind of gets within the cracks. Okay, so you want to know how this turns out. So after you repeat those lady fingers and you do more of the custard, you're going to let it rest 6 hours to 24 hours. Okay, and then after 6 hours by the way, this has been in my fridge for about 26 hours. So after you get done, you're going to take some unsweetened cocoa powder and just put it there on top, okay? And then just to kind of just show you, like, is this real? Is this fake? I'm going to grab this again. This is just a spatula, right? So we're just going to go in like this. I was like, am I going to drop this? What the? Oh yeah, this is definitely primo. All right, we're almost there. I know we're counting down. All right, so There we go. There it is. So you can see the layers and everything.
Oh, it looks delicious.
Yeah, this is
Yeah.
good. And obviously cut it in a bigger square. You can stand it up. You can add some more cocoa powder. You're pretty much good to go. My last tip is, if you are cutting this, use a knife, dip it in water between cuts so that none of the cake gets smeared around where you're gonna, around where you're serving it. So, all right, so there you go. Pasta dish and tiramisu, and I don't know what that was, 35, 40 minutes.
Well, bon appetit. And thank you so much for your time
Jeff.
today and being a part of the Military Spouses Symposium. Thank you.
Thank you.
Looks really good.
Thank you, Kathy.
Have a good weekend.
You too.
Bye.
Bye now.